Yo, 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 what's going on? Tesla, man, my goodness. This is crazy. This is really crazy. Um, had to had to hop out and come to my storage unit real quick because they they keep upping the price. It's almost $500 a month. I could buy a house and pay that much. store store my stuff. Um, another house. That's what I'm saying. I already have a house. I'm saying I could buy a second house, a home, and store it there. And I was just curious. I'm like, I wonder how much. Like, is there a ceiling? Is there a ceiling to how much these storage companies will charge? And if so, what is that ceiling? And then go ahead and get it over with. Let me know what that is, and then I can make a decision as to do I want to continue to use the storage. But anyway, I went ahead and I started to do this earlier, but I went ahead and built my own storage, bigger than the storage that I'm actually using, or paying for. So I built my own 24 by 24. The one that I'm paying for is a 10 by 20, I think it is. But yeah, I built a 24 by 24. I was like, the heck with this. You know what I'm saying? Because you could buy the pre-cut, sheds or whatever. And so, that's what I did. I should have did it sooner, but I was just kind of waiting to see, like, I don't know. It seems like the longer you wait, the more money you waste. So my advice: invest. Like, think about it in terms of investing. Like, go ahead and spring for it because it's gonna save you in the end. Like, I could have saved myself what, 12, 12,000, 18, $18,000. So anyway, jumping into today, man. Let's look at the market. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Oops, not working. Hold on. Let me do this then. Then open this. Yeah, bear with me just a second. I'm on my laptop because, like I said, I'm out. So um, let me close this, and then forex. All right, cool. Okay, now let me try this again. All right, so man, so the Tesla stock has fallen in the pre-market. It fell quite a bit, right? So almost 5% to a couple dollars. Right now we're sitting at 299 and change. So it dropped even more since the news. Um, at 6:43, and it's now 20 minutes later, basically. So it says that Donald Trump and Elon is back at it again. So what that means is there's going to be a lot of volatility today and opportunities to make money as it was before. Last spat I made $3,400. So this spat. Let's see what happens at the market open. Um, Last time I did jump out the trade, had I stayed in the entire day, that could have been an easy $7,000 day or greater. Because the way it was falling, the momentum causes the stock, um, causes a position to grow exponentially, um, whether it's in your favor or not. Because if it's in your favor, it grows exponentially in your favor. If it's not in your favor, it grows against you exponentially. So, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, that could have been like 7,000, $10,000 that I could have made. So we'll see coming into today. Elon is definitely calling out, these politicians, the Trump administration that's supporting the bill. Um, he's saying, obviously, as you can see from the news, let's see, he says, where's it at? Utterly insane. Da, 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 da. He promised to launch a new political party if the bill passed, adding that those in Congress who vote for it will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing he does on Earth. Donald Trump suggests looking into his companies, Elon's companies. Now, this is crazy, right? So Trump has said Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, he said in a post on Truth Social. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune, he added. Perhaps we should have Doge um, take a good hard look at this. Yeah, you could, but I'm saying seriously, like that's a joke, right? Because I get Trump's point of POV, right? But the thing is, let's be realistic. What with the noise, the riffs, the ripples that Trump has been causing across the globe, the last thing we want to do is fall behind in this competition with the our competitors, our competitors that are our neighbors, in the obviously these foreign countries, right? So like you got the Chinas, the Russians, and so forth. We don't want to fall out of competition, right? We don't want to fall behind. So the last thing we're going to do is stifle production uh, of companies, tech companies such as like Elon's tech companies with SpaceX and everything. Because remember, it was his SpaceX that went to SpaceX shuttle that went to go retrieve the the astronauts that was stranded because um, the Boeing space shuttle didn't work. And so they called on Elon to go retrieve them, right? So the last thing we want to do, like the when it comes to politics, maybe Elon is way out of his league, right? But when it comes to what his companies are doing, like, okay, come on now. Is there any other company that's why he's the richest man? When you're doing things that's of value, obviously it's gonna make you, the very important. So yeah, you could look into it, and if you cut it, who's gonna step up? Like who's gonna take his place? Okay. That's the thing. Like what companies are in position to take his place? And if there were other companies within the US that could take his place, they would have already done so. Now, because they'd be competing with him currently. But that's not the case. This is a new company, Tesla, right? Take Tesla, for example, a new automotive company, right, that comes in and knocks, becomes more valuable than the standard, than the existing automakers, right? So like stuff like that, where that's the thing that's surprising to me, because you have like these existing companies that just get so stagnant. You know what I mean? Like they don't innovate, and then they just let They like, oh, we've always done it this way. This is what it's gonna be like forever. Versus looking for ways to innovate. You know, yeah, okay, y'all. They might add new features, but features die out. Like technology and vehicles are not the way. Yeah, it's nice and shiny, but after a year, 2 years, 3 years, buy an older vehicle and then you see what I'm talking about. Like those features, most of them don't work, and it's more expensive to it's costly to replace those types of parts. Trust me, I know. I bought luxury vehicles that were used, whether it was um, like the Acura brand or a Honda brand or stuff like that. Those parts gets expensive, man, to replace those types of computer system or computer parts in the vehicle. But I'm saying, let's be realistic. You could cut those programs, but then you run the risk of allowing other our competitors in the world to supersede us. And that so if for those that don't know, for any of you who are new to this and you just don't follow history, that's cool. Because I don't follow history a whole lot, but when it comes to following the money, I do, right? So here's the thing in history. A little quick history lesson. We've had this happen before, and where we fell behind because other countries were racing to get into space. Now we have companies like SpaceX, where Elon is really innovating in this field, right? That's why I just gave you an example of what he did at the right time, right at the nick of time, right? So it's just like you want to continue pouring money into these types of companies that are innovative, that could potentially save us from a catastrophe, from our competitors, beating us, and really becoming more of a superpower. We remain a superpower because we continue to innovate. And so back in the day, there was a race, right, to get to outer space, and we realized that we didn't have the smart, the intelligence, or the technology. So there was an initiative through the government to pay for people to go to school and learn these skills so that we could quickly innovate and get to space. Not only get to space, but return from space and study what we're learning, quickly. Not just like take 10, 20, 30 years to do it, but to do it quickly, you know. And so we did that. So my point is same with war, right? Those who got the most powerful weapons win, and because the U.S. beat others to the punch, we became the most powerful country, right? Then others, obviously, or during the same time, is like, okay, well, they're gonna build nuclear weapons or just powerful, but if those other countries had beat us to the punch, we'd be the ones that were subject to their power, right? But we're not. We're the superpower. We're the standard. The U.S. that is. So that's just crazy, man. Like I get what you're saying. I get what Trump is saying, but let's be realistic. This is not gonna happen. This is not gonna happen. And if it does happen, it happens at the expense of us losing the competition, right? But it's setting us back tremendously. So if Trump was that like brazen, like if he was that bold to do it, then yeah, just to prove a point. But I seriously doubt that with because you can't create a war on two fronts, right? You can't create a war abroad and then a war at home. Okay. You're gonna lose. Okay. So if you create a war abroad, you need the support at home. So if he creates a war at two fronts, think about any war in history, right? Think about those great leaders of wars who had to fight on multiple fronts and lost because they had to concentrate too much of their forces on one or more area, not one or more, two or more areas. Okay, and it gets very, very difficult to do that. Very, very difficult to do that. So yeah, I seriously doubt that he's gonna do this, right? But there was something I was looking for. He says, uh he said, I can't see where it's at. Elon was like, yeah, go ahead. He said, We believe this situation will settle, and at the end of the day, Musk needs Trump, and Trump needs Musk, given the AR arms race going on between the U.S. and China. He added, maintaining an outperform rating. This is another point, but this is not what I was looking for. Hold on, let me check. That's what I said. Like we are in competition. This AI race is more because this is security. Like y'all gotta understand, like the security of our security is at stake. If if other countries beat us in this technology, it's a wrap, y'all. It's a wrap. I mean, from security, just over. Like, can you imagine like the level of we can't beat computers? Okay, humans can't beat computers. That's what I'm just trying to tell y'all. Tesla's converting to a technology-based company, not an automaker. Okay, that's why I was telling y'all to keep an eye out. Don't focus on the robo taxi as like this isolated aspect of the company's business. No, forget about that. Okay, see the bigger picture, and they've already talked about this. So, but you could have seen it before even Elon mentioned this. Okay, the bottom line is think about AI and its application. Think about the data. Okay. And so when you think about robotaxi, that's the application of AI. Okay. The AI technology. So think about that. Every company that you see, if you see them launching something that's AI focused or driven, then just think about, okay, is their business this or is it the application of AI? Like, is it that their business is focused on AI and adding applications, more applications, because that's what it is, right? Because you can scale, right? You're gonna start with this area of the AI business and then continue to add for more applications, right? So for example, not only do you get the robo taxi business, but you look at all that data that you get from this application. And Tesla's really they're already working on this side of their business as well. Data. I was calling this out and telling people close to me. I was like, listen, y'all, I can't emphasize this enough, but I said data is the new gold. Data is the new gold. That's why I said we're at risk if other countries beat us in this AI race. And Trump is just he's not gonna let that happen. This man has too much pride to let other countries beat us out. So that's why I said he's not gonna attack. Now, maybe after he sets up and knocks out his enemies abroad, then he'll focus his effort and direct his attention if that happens within his term, right? But I seriously doubt that happens within 4 years. But the point being is that listen, if he defeats his enemies abroad, like smashes them, like crushes them, then he has enough, resources and time and energy, and he feels like, okay, yeah, all right, I want to make a point. And if he's like, say for example, if Elon's pushing it, then yeah, he might go ahead and direct his attention in that area. But till then, nah, that's not gonna happen. But this is not the one that I was looking for. Maybe hold on, let me go back. Let me go back. It was one where he said, Elon said, "Well, go ahead." He's calling. He said, "Go ahead and do it." Trump says Elon is upset because he lost the EV mandate. Is this it? Nope. I can't find it. But in one of these, yeah, he said, Elon said, "Go ahead." He said he called out Trump. He said, "Go ahead and remove all the credits and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter." He said, "Go ahead and do it." He said, "Go ahead and do it. If that's what you're gonna do, go ahead and do it. I'm calling your bluff. I'm pulling your card. Go ahead and do it if you're gonna do it." Because Elon knows that there's more than just his company benefits from this, right? Not only that, is there's still government programs where the public can take advantage of these types of credits, right? So even if it's not done through the company directly, or given extended to the company directly. So, and they have it. It also mentioned that they have this information posted on the Tesla website. So that's the thing, right? So now let's get into the red folder news, because this is a little bit of gossip, so it's a little bit more juicier, you know what I mean, and entertaining. So, I mean, this is what the trend, what's happening right now. This is what's going on. I mean, we gonna see how the how the market reacts once it opens. But Tesla did drop significantly because they're concerned. The concern from investors is, okay, if you mess up this relationship with the government, how is that going to affect your business overall with the contracts and so forth? And that's what I was trying to tell y'all. Like, Elon obviously has identified leverage, right? He knows that what Trump wants to do, and you can't fight two fronts like that, right? It becomes so difficult and draining, right? And so that's just like, you got to pick and choose your battles. And right now, Trump is really focused on our foreign affairs, right? And getting that in order, because it's taken a lot, and you see what's happening, right? There's a lot of things happening at home, and you don't want to blow up things at home and have people wanting to get you out of office. Right now, things are kind of settled, even with even with all the dust that was kicked up with the tariffs, people losing their job and everything like that. Like, that was difficult. That was difficult for a lot of people, which is why I'm trying to help people understand, like, y'all really should be diversifying your streams of income. Like, obviously, last month in June, I made over $5,000 just uh, investing in stock options, right? So, you got to be able to diversify your money, and you're immediately liquid. Like, so I'm making money and then I can go spend the money, right? I make the money. It's not like real estate, where I love real estate investing. The thing is, it just takes so long for you to become liquid. You know what I mean? It could be 3 months, 6 months, a year. You know what I mean? So with investing in stock options, you make your money, you can transfer it to your bank, and you're immediately liquid, right? So with that said, let me stop sharing and share this tab so we can look at red folder news. Yeah, so Trump definitely doesn't want to do that. Looks like we got some bunch of red and orange folder news coming until today. So we got at 8:30, Fed Chair Powell speaks. So we'll see how that impacts the market. Then at 9, PMI, and then later today at 8:30 p.m. So big news coming into today. So we got 9 o'clock and 8:30. So I'm gonna stay tuned. I'm gonna keep an eye out on that, man. That's gonna be crazy. Uh, I love to see how the markets react. Tesla, especially with the spat between him and Trump, and then this red folder news. So after Chair Powell speaks, Trump has an issue with him. Obviously, he's like, "Yo, drop the rates." Powell like, "Nah, I'm good. You ain't gonna get me. I'm looking out for the American people. I'm doing my job. So I know what you want, but you're not the one that's gonna solve this problem, right?" And that's not Trump's area of expertise. That's what I'm saying. It's too much. Like, okay, think about it like this, y'all. Think about it like this. If you are running a business, or you want to create a business, your business depends on speed, momentum. You getting to the punch, getting to the finish line before your competitors do, right? Um, and to do so, you need to scale. To scale requires expertise, okay, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and experience, right? So all of that, right? Wisdom, knowledge, understanding, right? So that's the key. Smart people, intelligent people realize, well, hey, I'm only one person. I can't do all of this, and I'm not an expert in all of these areas. So what do? Naturally, people go hire the expert. They bring in the expertise, right? That's what they do, because else you have to learn and become the expert on a wide range of different areas, and that is too much, right? That's just that's too costly and time wise, right? So no one does that. That's why you bring in the experts. And so in the same way, my point is that in the same way, this is not the president's realm, right? That's why we have a whole Fed department that deals with this. Okay, this is not Trump's expertise. Okay, so he's not looking at the wide array of variables that can impact what goes on, that could really send the US into a spiral. Okay, and have us in big trouble in so many ways. So yeah, Trump might want this because of, his interest in one or more areas, but that's not the whole picture. That doesn't cover the whole picture. If the Fed does listen to Trump and says, okay, yeah, do this, well, what's going to happen with these other problems? Ask Trump, how is he going to deal with those problems? And then you'll see, like, he's gonna have to yield and say, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Obviously, he probably wouldn't even do that because that's not Trump's forte. You know what I'm saying? He'll probably defer on such questions and deflect, you know what I'm saying, like he normally does. But I'm just saying, realistically, at the end of the day, no matter what Trump says in the public, to the public, you know what I mean, he knows you can't have. That's why it's like in any of his business, he's not the one running the business. He's hiring people. Okay, he's hiring the smart people, and he's said this many a times. Like, I hired the smart people. Okay, so he knows. He may not want to listen to him, but that's what he brought him in for. Even in his own businesses, he may be upset that he can't get his way in some of these other interests, areas of interest that he has, but he didn't bring them in to be like, to be ignorant and stupid and just to yield, to be yes men. He brought him in to be smart. And it's like, okay, yeah, let's figure out how to try to do this, but we can't do this without, we first have to solve or figure out what happens if this happens. We can't wait. We can't like do it and then react. It'll be too late. So that's the problem with what the Fed has, the responsibilities of the Fed, right? The it is too late to react. So therefore, what they have to do is manage proactively. So what Trump is insisting on the Fed to do is to just do something and then react later. But the Fed is saying, well, it'll be way too late then. It can spiral, it can have a cascading effect that can become well out of our control, right? So we can't really do that. We can't really do that. So anyway, this is the news coming into today. So we're going to see how the market shapes up. Well, let me share my screen and talk about my strategy and get into it today. Tesla, here we go, baby. All right, so taking a look at Tesla, we're currently at 298.59, 55, 58. All right, so here are the levels that I have coming into today. Let's see what we got here. My next level is 288.90. 288.90. 288.90. Oh, snap, my battery. Give me a second. Let me plug in my there we go. All right, so we got 299 or 298. Okay. And the next level is 288.90. Let's see. Let's draw out another couple of key levels. Let me switch to the 15-minute chart and look left for old highs, old lows. So we can draw some new levels here. Okay. So we got 288. Let's look left. So it looks like we got a couple of touches here. So what we're looking for essentially is old highs, old lows. So you can see here, this is another key level. We got touches here, here, here. Because you can see here at this level, sellers are resting. Liquidity is resting here, right? Keeping the stock below. As you can see, we kind of rejected off of this. We did break above. It did become support at one point, but then we broke below it. Broke above it again, but here you can see resistance again, and resistance, resistance, resistance. So we did retest this level a couple of times, so we can draw the key, another key level here. Switch here. And this will be orange bullet. All right, the next key level, we have multiple touches here. All right, so from this point, we got here, 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 and here. So let's draw out another key level here. Okay, so coming until today, if the market continues to stay heavy, then I expect, well, hold on, let me see. Let me make sure. Let's use this high on Friday the 25th. Let's draw this out here because probably have multiple touches. Yeah. So we got multiple touches here. Yep. So let's do it from this point because we got a touch here, 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 and here. Okay. So that should be good enough for today. So coming into today, if we decide to stay heavy, what I'd be looking for is the reaction off of this key level, right? The pre-market low. So we could start off heavy right away, you know, but I'd like to see the retest to this key level and to see if sellers defend this key level 297.34 for continuation to the downside. Then the next key level would be 288.90, and I'd like to check. Then I'll check the reaction off of this key level, right? Will it remain as support and we bounce off, or will we break below it and for continuation to the downside? If so, if 288.90 becomes resistance, where we come back and retest, and sellers continue to defend this key level, right? Then I will obviously look for continuation to the downside to the next key level, which is 282.72. And it's possible, you know, I mean, we can continue heavy if the rift between Trump and Elon continues. So what I'd be looking for is two things: an aggressive, like relative weakness, extreme weakness, right at the open, right, and it's just dropping like just like this, like boom, like. And if we're doing that, that's gonna be crazy. Okay, because I definitely need to get in and capture some of this momentum. I'm not going to take a huge position if I don't see a retest to any of these key levels, or I'll systematically add a stop loss of, let's say, 2%, because a like an institution can step in and, like, from this key level, all of a sudden you see this aggressive like weakness, and then an institution steps in and buys a whole bunch of options, and then you'll see a quick spike like that, and that could wipe man, you could blow your account like that. So that's why you got to be careful, right? You got to be careful because I've seen it happen. Those spikes, and so you just got to be careful, man. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen, and it can happen. What? So I'd be looking for those two things coming into the market today, and man, it'll be crazy. So yeah, we could continue heavy below 297. The other thing is some news could break. It is possible for us to, come into the open and test this and see that buyers are defending this key level, and we could, if the buyers step in aggressively, we they could send the price back up again. Obviously, we'd have to check to see what the reaction is off 304 and change, as well as the pre-market high, which is 306.66. But we'll just have to see. I'll just have to wait and see. I don't currently have a bias. We're still, when you look at the higher time frames, because we're on the 15-minute right now, right? You can see that we're still making higher lows. You see these low points here and here. So we're still making higher lows. So we're still in an uptrend. If I take you to the 4 hour, for example, let's reset this. Oops. If we bring this, so on the higher time frame, this is the 4 hour. You can see we're still in an uptrend. We're still in an uptrend. We made these aggressive moves to the upside, but if we were steadily moving, then this is an outlier. This is what we call an outlier, right? The normal range would have stayed within here, right? We're gradually moving up. So let's just fill in that blank right there, right? So that's what we're doing. This right here, outlier. This right here, outlier. So you can see where um, that as long as we continue to make these higher lows, then we're still in the same trend, right? We haven't broke market structure. Breaking market structure would look like when we actually break up, you know, from this key level here, right, and continue down. Now we've broken market structure, and that's when you could, you know, continue to have a bias to the upside. That's why I said it's kind of difficult to scalp towards the downside when the market, the overall stock itself, is still in an uptrend. There's going to be, otherwise you just have to look at these as pullbacks. They're just pullbacks, and pullbacks are healthy. So you're gonna have these pullbacks, and obviously this is cool, right? So we're gonna have this pullback to this key level, but that's fine. That's fine. So coming into today, that's what I said. I'm just gonna, you know, be cautious, be patient, be careful, and wait to see what the market does. I'm gonna be waiting to check the reaction off these key levels based on the red folder news that I talked about earlier, coming in at 8:30 as well as 9 a.m. And then I'll be on the lookout for any potential um, trending news between, of any further spats between Elon and Trump. So with that said, gonna wrap it up right here and call it a day. I'm gonna drop the mic right here. Shaman Ace, I'm out. Again, I follow. All I'm doing is trading Tesla specifically. Today may not present any setups. There may be some scalping opportunities. So I'll take a look at that. But I will be trading live with my mentor today. So if whatever he's looking at, if I agree with, you know, um, that potential option, trade option, then I'll go ahead and jump into, that particular trade and, go from there. But I've primarily focused on Tesla, and that's why I'm tracking the news to learn its behavior, so that way I can capitalize on trends within this particular stock, whether the stock is going up or going down. Okay. So a lot of people might focus on multiple tickers, but for me, I like to have my primary, and then you can have a few backups, right? Just like football, I got this analogy from a friend of mine, and it made sense that I was like, yo, I might use that. I might steal that. And because I know a lot of people watch football. So in football, the QB has his primary receiver, right? And that's the one that you can rely on. You hit that primary receiver every single time. They can get open and they can catch the ball in traffic, right? So they're very, very reliable. This is what Tesla is for me. This is my primary receiver. Then I have some secondary and third options, second, third, fourth options, right? And that's because the primary might be triple covered. You know what I mean? Might be triple covered. It might just be, it might warrant that kind of um, diversity. You know what I mean? Like flexibility to be able to switch up. So at that point, then I can revert to the semis, right? Nvidia, AMD. I can go to either other tech companies like Meta or Microsoft. So even Netflix, Amazon, and other companies like that. So Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my focus. That's what I said, y'all. So if you're interested in that, if you found value in that, then feel free to like and subscribe and follow for more. All right, y'all. It's your man, Ace.